Hi, everybody. Welcome. Today, our topic is when we cling, we suffer, letting go so we can grow. A lot of people are having a really hard time right now. Originally, Lisa and I were going to look at essence versus personality, but we have something that we listen to called pinging. And when a topic keeps coming up, we decide to look at it, whether we look at it through our clairvoyant readings or just pay attention to what's happening. So today we're going to look at the suffering that's happening right now with so much change and uncertainty. Lisa, you want to take it from here?
Sure. Yeah. Well, again, we thought it was important to discuss this topic today. Just this morning, I had a friend call me who was losing something that was dear to her. A lot of people are losing things right now that they've worked really hard for and love, not just people, but careers and lives. And my girlfriend this morning had some pretty sad news that the salon that she had built, her very successful salon in San Francisco, was closing after 15 years. And, I felt very sad for her, but I also, knowing what I know, feel very optimistic for her as well. But what I took from the call was, I really sat with the call and I said to her, you had this information about a year ago. You knew, your body was telling you that it was time to leave this career, or this aspect of your career. Your body was suffering. She had problems with her back, her feet, hands. Go down the list of someone who's been standing on their feet for the past 20 years, and she suffered from that. And in addition to that, she over this past year was working with her husband, who has a YouTube station, and they were, she was collaborating with him, and it was very a great combination. But she was in resistance to that. Because she was hanging on to her salon because that's what she thought she knew. She was getting the information that it was time perhaps to leave before this pandemic. And she had said to me, if it weren't for this pandemic, I work hard. And I would have just kept going. She goes, now I'm forced to change. And the thing is that it's a redirection, really, because she has all of her skills and abilities. They're just going to be repurposed or look different on the outside. We have these nudges ahead of time. And Alice, I know you could discuss this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing I was thinking about is some people are actually relieved at the things that they're able to let go of now. Jobs that they weren't really happy with are disappearing. And of course, it's frightening because if we don't know where we're going, we're kind of going into the darkness. But that can also be a good thing too. So yes, nudges. So the universe can give us nudges. So if we're not heading down the road we're supposed to be on, it'll nudge us. If we don't pay attention to those nudges, it's gonna give us a slap. And then if you really don't pay attention to those slaps, worse things can happen, like car accidents or health problems, to help us open our eyes. So I, on my 50th birthday, I blew out my candles and made a wish, and I said, I want everything to change. And that was like pulling a string, and everything unraveled. And I got what I asked for, but it was a 3.5 year long trip into the unknown. And I would say I went through a little bit of suffering. Lisa?
Well, it leads also into, fear. And with fear comes the buts. So I would sit in that chair at my friend's salon and say, geez, I don't really see you. Of course, I'm clairvoyant, so I get some other messages. And I said, I don't see you sitting at this, I don't see you in the salon for very long. I didn't even see it within the next year. And I was accurate here. But there's the buts. But we all find ourselves saying, but I this, but I that, but I this. It's resistance. It's resistance. And it comes from ideas that we've constructed about ourselves and how we're supposed to be. And also we get comfortable, and we get comfortable. We want to stay in that status quo, not believing in ourselves that there's something else out there. And we all have these feelings within us that we know that there's other things. It's just, we're not listening. We're not listening. Many of the people who have lost said situations right now already have the information. There is something out there for them. They know, you know what you're supposed to do. It's just, there's so much clouding that vision that we've constructed in our minds. It's called resistance. Alice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, resistance is a big, a big thing. And there's a word that I pay attention to a lot when people say it. It's the word should. I think it's really powerful. And I feel like it has two separate meanings to it. So Deepak Chopra said, if you think the word I should, then you probably should. So if you think, maybe I should bring a jacket with me today when I leave, then you probably should. But then there are the shoulds that are obligations. So the shoulds that things that other people think that you should be doing, or you should be doing things because other people do them. I remember my friend saying, oh, you know, I really should read that book. It's like, do you want to read that book? Not really. So don't read it. But so pay attention to those shoulds. Pay attention to which one is talking to you.
Well, should leads right into identity. And as Alice was saying, well, her friend really didn't want to read that book. Well, why were you reading? Why did she want to read that book? Because maybe she needed to, maybe she had a feeling that she had to sound intelligent in a certain group of people. There are ideas and constructs that we've created within ourselves. We all are guilty. I have 10,000 different million identities that I've stripped, and I'm still stripping. And those are the things that hold us up from listening to that inner voice that's nudging us on where to go. I just currently made a move from San Francisco to the East Bay. Let me tell you something. I faced identity crisis with that. This idea that I was moving from wonderful San Francisco to a small East Bay community that was suburban-like. You know, here I already raised a kid in San Francisco. What am I doing in a, suburban community where people are raising children? But I'm right where I'm supposed to be because I trusted my inner wisdom. It's just getting through the layers. And we all have layers. It's just that we found ways to plow through them a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm. Lisa, talk about thinking you needed to live in a warehouse, because I think that's a good area where we find blocks when we set our intentions on something. And sometimes we have to open up and create more room for growth.
Okay, well, when I first started my search here in the East Bay, I was looking for industrial spaces on the waterfront because I believed that this was part of my identity, and I needed this kind of space to be able to create. Mind you, I'm middle-aged, and I really, as I was looking at it, I thought, wow, this is great, I can create. But I was looking at the place and going, God, am I going to be comfortable here? Might be a little dirty, a little too rustic for me. I think I'd like a nicer place, but I really held on to that idea, and I'm grateful that I didn't get the place. But what happened is I spent the next month and a half or so looking all over the East Bay, grinding, looking on Trillo's, Willow, Craigslist, you name it. You've all been there. Many of you have been there. And I was in resistance to the idea that maybe I should live in a home. And here I am in a wonderful space that I was guided to outside of all of that grind by just a conversation in a cafe. Simple conversation in a cafe allowed me to find the place where I was meant to be, and my place is now enchanting, and I can create here, create more than ever. I create in a different way, but I am creating, and it's the kind of creations I'm supposed to be doing now, not the past time version of myself or this idea of who I think I should be.
Mm-hmm. I think we need to update our current kind of intentions and the things that we desire every once in a while. Check in and go, are these things still the things that I want? Are these still my values? And one thing I was I was thinking about when I was listening to you talk about that story was you jumped in the flow. And
Mhm.
I think of the flow as like jumping in a river and letting the river take you to where you need to go. And when you try to grab onto the roots on the shore and you can't get out, you're not in the flow. And so paying attention to those things that that unfold for us, because
It is
sometimes
scary though. We have to mention it is scary. It's really,
it's
it
so
is
scary.
scary. It's a little bit of torture, but after you've gone down a few rivers and it's all worked out, you start trusting it. But it is scary, you know,
Yeah, yeah, the universe.
especially when you don't know where your livelihood is coming from or you don't know where your next home is going to be.
Hmm. Oh
You have
yeah.
to feed a family. I mean, all of those things are legitimate things to be nervous about. But in the end, when you quiet yourself and you listen and you just shut everything down, strip all the masks that you have and sit in that internal essence of your own, you have the information. And I think this is, you know, a good leeway into essence and personality. Don't you think, Alice?
Yeah, yep. We'll do that in a future episode, maybe next week, or maybe not. We'll see what shows up. Things. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you
Yeah,
next
we hope
week.
you're doing well.
Yeah, take care of yourselves, please.